Greetings to everyone world over, all our brothers and sisters across the globe, wherever you are. Wishing you a wonderful Wednesday evening, 9 p.m., 15th of May, 2024, all the way from beautiful country, beautiful Bharat. And we extend a very warm welcome to each one of you. Ladies and gentlemen, sitting across the globe, wherever you are, whatsoever time zone you are in, whatsoever environment you are in, let's think about economy. Let's think about economic growth. Let's think about our youth, our students, our working population, our aging population. A lot of people we have to take into consideration, particularly when you talk about the country, the continent, and the global economy as a whole, and what could be the challenges in the labor market. ILO is doing great work, and so is our other people under the United Nations, all other segments. So we would like to extend this morning, this afternoon, this evening, a very warm welcome to another youth now at present from India, but in the global market, at present in UK, at present in London, Renisha Rana. She is from University of Warwick at London. Join me in extending a very warm welcome to her as far as India is concerned, our evening, but it is post lunch as far as that country is concerned. Renisha, hearty welcome to you. Pleasure to have you with us. You're always inspiring us with something new. I'm very keen that you should give us a detailed case perspective, your research, whatever you have done. But before that, you can talk about your education, what you have taken, what all you have studied over there, and what research project you have taken, and what is your experience, and how do you look at the entire labor market, and what are the challenges when we take the global perspective, of course, with the focused approach of UK, where you are at present. With these words, hearty welcome to you.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Sharma. I would like to introduce myself. I'm Renisha Sharana. I'm originally from Delhi, India, where I've done a chunk of my education. I've done my undergraduate in economics from Jesus and Mary College from the University of Delhi. Throughout my undergraduate degree, I've picked up many research assistant positions and other research based internships to basically hone my skill set and just get as much experience as I can. And out of this, I've gotten two publications which are published already with my professors. And moving my love for economics and travel further, I moved to the UK for my master's in economics. I've graduated from University of Warwick with an MSc in economics. And throughout my journey in Warwick, I worked as a research assistant with the head of Department of Economics at Warwick, and I was also promoted to one of the youngest teaching assistants in economics there.
Wow.
Thank you
Wow.
so
Great.
much.
Great.
Thank you
Okay.
so much.
That's lovely. That's lovely. So let's share something related to your research which you have done over there. I would
Right.
request let it be benefited, to everybody in this the global perspective, what exactly you feel about it, what challenges in the labor market and how things are. Let's take your research journey further.
Right. So I'd like to begin by saying my recent work experience with a UK regulatory body has been very fruitful with this research, as I am a co-author of their published report in the labor market power. And it just explores the challenges of labor market, and I shall explain it better with a presentation. So if you can give me a moment, I will just share
Please,
my
please go
presentation.
ahead. So, ladies and gentlemen, mentally, we all should move to UK with Renisha and let's enjoy what exactly the labor marketing challenges are there at present. And it should be a specific case which we are taking off UK.
Right. So I worked on the project Labor Market Power, which explores the labor market challenges. And firstly, why the labor market power? Why the topic particularly? We had seen this topic had been gaining a lot of popularity in the econ groups as David Card, a Nobel Prize winner in economics, had written a paper and said the time has come to recognize that many or even most firms also have some wage setting power, which is interesting because we only know product markets where these markets have the labor, the demand and supply changing the prices, the demands, the whether we want the product or not. And now the same mechanism also works in a labor market, which is very interesting. And there was a rising literature on labor market power in the US. And so we decided to write this one of a kind report in the UK. Now, what are the key findings? The key findings we saw were the UK labor market has become tighter in the recent years. And tighter meaning the demand for labor has exceeded the supply for available workers in the market. We've seen the labor market is highly concentrated, and the concentration has been roughly constant or has declined. Concentration being larger firms are occupying bigger share of the market, and concentration is negatively associated with wages but is reduced when workers are covered by collective bargaining agreements. And then again, we've seen restricted covenants are widespread, especially across income distribution, and there has been a rise in the gig economy as well. Now, to begin, we'll first explore the structural trends in the UK. To do that, we've gotten something really interesting. It's called the UK labor markets have become tighter. Right. So to do this, we have calculated a metrics called the labor leverage ratio, which was done for the first time in the UK. The ratio simply means quits over layoffs, and layoffs being fired or redundant. Since 2008, the financial crisis, the ratio has increased to a historical high levels, indicating tight labor markets, with an exception for the pandemic years, obviously. In the recent years, the ratio has crossed 6, which simply means that there are 6 voluntary quits for every 1 person that is being laid off. A high labor leverage ratio will tend to indicate that there's a shift in your labor market's power from employers to employees. Now, when I say 6 voluntary quits for every 1 laid off worker, now this strikes another interesting question. Where are these people moving and why are these people moving? Are employees moving to different sectors for better pay? Are they moving for better education and upskilling themselves? Another reason is we need to know the industry we are talking about, because it could be a casual worker moving from industry A to industry B. To do that, we took the same analysis, but to industry level. And we saw significant variation across the UK in different sectors. As we saw human health, social activities, education, agriculture, accommodation and food services being on the higher side, with a lot of labor moving freely from jobs, right? And certain industries such as in the contrast, we've seen mining, manufacturing, information and communication services, even finance. They were characterized to be low labor leverage ratio on an average, which could be for reasons such as, let's just say we're talking about finance and insurance activities. Now, there are people with certain degrees, certain credit accreditations, they can't freely move from A job to B. So again, this needs to be heavily researched further, but it paints a good picture to understand broadly how the UK's industries are reacting in the labor market. Now, going further, we've seen how UK industries are significantly varying in the labor market. To do this, we've plotted something called the spider charts. And these charts aim to show 5 metrics together for an industry. And in a glance, you can see what's happening in an industry. And we are basically exploring labor market concentration by the measure of HHI. We are seeing labor productivity growth, the vacancy rate, which shows the labor market tightness. We see unit labor cost, which is a measure of labor productivity. We see how they're so different. Let's just say mining and quarrying and manufacturing, how they're so different when both of them have intermediate labor market tightness. Mining has high labor market concentrations, but low labor share of income and low productivity growth with low unit labor costs. And on the contrary, we see manufacturing, on the other hand, with less concentrated markets, high labor share of income, high labor productivity growth, high unit labor cost, and intermediate labor market tightness. Together, we can also see industries such as accommodation and food services and information communication, how they've got all the matrices on the higher end, yet they are varying to a certain extent. So this shows how there's varying overall. And now we can see another set of analysis we performed to understand how is the gig economy reacting. We've seen an increased trend of gig economy. It is small, but it's growing at a good pace. Gig economy is defined by us as anyone who is selling their labor services via digital platforms. This could be an Uber driver delivering your food, an Uber driver delivering, taking you from point A to point B, or it could be a part-time work as well. So gig work is small but growing proportion, is a growing proportion of employment. There are wider definitions of casual work accounts, but they account for a larger share of employment. And as on the screen with the diagram, we can see the percentage over total employment. There's been a rise, although a slight dip to in Jan 2022, but that's just because the data is less and it's stretched pretty wide. We were waiting for further waves of data to be conducted, further waves of research to be conducted so that we could plot a longer trend, but we've seen an increase so far. And this is broadly all I had to discuss about the labor market power. And yeah, that's all.
Thank you. Thank you. The gig economy, when you're talking about, it is small but growing. That is
Right.
something, the trend which we see. And it means that youth more are interested to have their own work. They want to work their own way with their own style and all that. They want more independent thought process in way of a working structure. Is that correct?
That's true to an extent. This could include youth who are looking for a part-time job during their studies. This is including people who are just in between jobs, taking up multiple jobs in between. Sometimes even freelancers come under the same umbrella. And I think the
Okay.
rise, why we say it's small but rising, it's because we've seen a sudden growth of it post pandemic when people had lost jobs and they picked up a lot of freelancing tasks or small yet remote jobs. And
Uh,
something so interesting is that a lot of the jobs, which was a very tricky
uh-huh.
part for us to analyze, a lot of the full-time jobs are also sometimes advertised at part-time because they're getting paid on an hourly basis. So
Uh-huh.
they earn same as a normal full-time employee, just with the risk of losing their job maybe quickly because they're getting paid and getting work on an hourly basis.
Mhm. Great.
So
Great. Thank you. Thank
thank
you
you.
for that input. Would you be kind enough just to go to the previous slide which you had shown? Just
Right.
the previous slide. Yes. Would you be kind enough to amplify a little bit more onto, the two circles which we have drawn down below, accommodation and food service, and
Mhm.
besides that, information and communication. Because you have given us a wonderful structure. We have understood on the top how the mining and quarrying and manufacturing part is. Would you be kind enough to take on these two areas as well, please?
Right. No worries. I can quickly touch on it. So the
Yes.
idea of having these four broad industries there is to show how all of them are so different when the UK's labor market is tight and constant so far, right? We've
Mhm.
seen how there's a huge difference between mining and quarrying and manufacturing. It's same for accommodation and food services and information communication. Information and
Mhm.
communication is seeing good days with high productivity, high concentration, higher job vacancies, and higher unit labor costs, which is higher productivity. On the other hand, how accommodation and food services is different is with less job vacancies, but with higher concentration, slightly lesser productivity, higher labor share of income, but less productivity over growth rate.
Okay.
That's
Mhm.
all.
Great, great. That's really nice. Always when you get good research, particularly from the younger generation and people like you, those are so sincerely and seriously working on the research project. I'm tempted and, always a hungry child. I'm interested to know a little bit. I'm sure you must have glanced through or you must have come across the ILO report as far as India is concerned, which was released in the recent past. And
Right.
over there, if you can just share today the key indicators, detailed part we can do later on. But if you can
Sure.
just do on the surface a little bit for our sake, and somewhere you can touch on what exactly is the ILO findings are there and in context to India. Because as you mentioned that you spent your childhood and early days of education in India. So I'm tempted to know a little bit more from you as a part of that ILO report. Would you be kind enough to give us a glimpse of it today?
Sure. I'll just share a separate presentation if that's all right.
Okay. Yeah, sure, please.
So, in my own time, I'd gone over the report. It's very interesting. It's a huge
Yes.
report,
And
but
particularly when you talk about India and demographic dividend and youth and youth all around, you go
right.
to airport, you go to metro, you go to railway station, you go on the roads, wherever you are, you've got youth. There are lots of Renisha moving around and they are around over here. So when we talk about that, give me the glimpse only today. I'm not talking about the detailed part of it. That certainly I would request you maybe after a month or a couple of months, whenever it's convenient to you. We'll have the detailed, complete profile of that. But today, just give us the glimpses of that.
Sure. I'll just quickly share my presentation.
Very kind, very kind. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are moving from UK all the way where I have requested something in context to India. She's going to share the vision. Institute for Human Development, International Labour Organization. Please go ahead.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Sharma, for letting me talk about this. I've only browsed and glanced over it and found some interesting facts that I would want to share.
And
Right.
you're talking
So,
about youth employment.
yes.
I'll just study that once again. Could you just show that slide?
Right,
You're
for sure.
talking about youth employment, education, and skills. Okay, please go ahead.
Right. So these are just merely 4 slides. The entire report is huge and very elaborate, but just
We will take
to
it
touch
separately.
down,
No worries.
right.
uh,
But just to touch down on a few important facts.
hmm,
So
hmm.
this chart simply paints a picture of what the working population looks like, the broad age group distribution of the population for the year 2011, 21, 31, and projected 2036, of course. So we've seen how a quarter of our 2021, a quarter of our population is from 0 to 14 years. So these are students studying or younger population. Then we've got teens to young adults from 15 to 29 years old counting for 27%, and a major chunk, 37% of 30 to 59 years old population, and a 10% population with 60 plus, which is a good population uh, distribution, so that we have a bigger chunk of working population, so we can um, it can have positive impacts on our economy with a lot of people working, if the productivity rises, etc. Now this intrigued me to see where are these people working, or what is this age group really doing. So, to understand the activity status of the youth aged 15 to 29 and adults aged 30 to 59 by economic and non economic activities, we have the chart. So, we see how in 2022, a major chunk is of students, right? So, there would be, sorry, this is employment. I just got confused with the previous chart. 37% is employed, and there is 5% of unemployment, a 35% chunk of students and 22% domestic duties and 1% of others. So 22% people who work at home, stay at home and do their jobs, domestic jobs, these includes home worker, housewives, and 35% in the universities. So the upcoming working force is getting ready. And we have seen an interesting fact about the unemployment, how it was lower in 2000. It was about 3% and remained at 3%. It increased by 7% during the COVID impacted year, but we have seen a positive of reduction by 2% and has gone down to 5% in 2022. So this paints again a positive and a good picture for India, which is great. And for some reason, my slide is not working. Can I just take a minute, please?
Sure. Please go ahead. Please go ahead. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are just giving you the glimpses of the ILO report in context to India, because the detailed study and the work she has done as far as UK is concerned, that being a part of her, the master's program, what she has done over there, and thereafter working in the, setup, we would certainly ask her later on if she gets an opportunity to work with the UN, whether she would like to work over there and how she sees future as a career, particularly when we talk about young adults. And when I talk about women folk, we will take her personal perspective a little later. Please go ahead.
Right. Thank you. And so sorry for the trouble. For some reason, I'm having some technical issues.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Right. So now that we have seen the distribution of the population, it's worth seeing the distribution of jobs by level of skill in the services sector for the youth for the years 2000, 2012, 19, and 22. Right. So these trends indicate that there's an increased demand for high-skilled youth and modern services such as communication, softwares, and financial services. However, the availability of cheap labor in bulk and the higher cost of automation, especially for the majority of micro and small informal enterprises, is preventing or delaying the technological change or the use of automotive machines in India. And the overall growth of medium and high skilled jobs over time has seen much slower than the growth rate of highly educated skilled youth. So I think this is a pretty interesting find by the ILO, which I found. And then I found this interesting chart, which says more Indians are working in agriculture and reap low output. As we see in 2000, the employment share of the primary sector, which could be agriculture, for example, is 62%, and the output is merely 27%. And in contrast, we've seen the employment percentage of 23% in tertiary sector with a 44% output. Right. And same, if we see for 2022, we've seen about 45% of employment in the primary sector with only 16% of output. And whereas we've seen a positive growth in tertiary sector, we've got the 30% employment generating about 53% of output. And this is the percentage distribution in employment and the gross value added of the country. So I think this is pretty interesting to know. And then I found it's worth knowing, now that we know what the population looks like, where the population works and studies, or what do they do, and are they high skilled, low skilled, where are they working, and as in the last chart we had seen where they're working, how much are they contributing, how much is the output generation. It's worth knowing how much are they earning. Have we seen an increase in their salaries? Now, average monthly earnings of regular, casual, and self-employed workers in 2012, 19, and 22 in rupees is seen in the following chart. We have seen how in regular workers there's been a fall till 2022 to about 10,927 as an average monthly earning. And we've seen an increase in casual workers and about roughly around the same figure for self-employed people in their
Okay.
earning.
Okay, good. At least you have given us the teaser. This particular report is very voluminous. And when India has got the demographic dividend, and how do we basically take our youth and our Yuva Pidi and young generation to an advantage to our country? Because India becoming the most populous country of the world, and the best part, younger generation, young people, young boys and girls, and now people, moving up in the ladder. A lot of Indians are doing extremely well world over. You look, in IT sector, technology sector, IT-enabled services sector, financial sector, the World Bank. When you talk about the head, Mr. Banga, right over here, our that lady Geeta Gopikrishnan, she doing extremely well, like that many more of them, Google, Microsoft, and other places, and many people getting onto the verticals in United Nations, different areas, some of them in ILO, some of them in OECD, some of them moving into World Bank, Asian Development Bank, and a couple of other organizations. As a young aspirant, as a young generation, do you feel that if you get an opportunity after finishing your master's, and particularly coming from economics background and having done plenty of research and moving up in the ladder, if you get an opportunity to work with the United Nations in any of the segments, how do you look at it? As a young generation, young Indian, would you be keen about it?
I'd be 100% keen on it. I think, Dr. Sharma, after finishing my education, all of these research projects I've undertaken, I think any platform that provides me the right opportunity to grow and learn, and where I can showcase my skill set, use my education for something so good as what the UN does, I think I'd be really keen on doing that. That'd be a dream come true.
Wow. Wow, because your research should be utilized, it should be showcased, it should multiply the economies further globally. And of course, I'm selfish. I talk about India more. I always think from that perspective. I think everybody should be loyal to their country. So that's why I feel. So I'm not going to leave you so easily. Maybe one of these days, maybe in a couple of months, as and when it will be convenient to you, we will work out some study in detail. People have moved up in the ladder in different organizations. And I still recall, I don't know how the trend is now, but it used to be, if you're coming from a particular country and you're doing any master's program overseas, they will always give you a case study of your home country. They'll say, oh, do it for your country and submit it to us, because they know you are the best source which they can get for primary surveys, secondary research, whatever is needed. And I'm pretty sure your research will utilize in a many way, with a promise and a commitment from you that we'll do one more program with you in the coming times. And that will be focused on the ILO findings, democratic dividends, young Indian boys and girls. You have given us a very nice graph. It is very encouraging. Tertiary sector, that's again next to my heart all the time. Agriculture, manufacturing, again, very important for any GDP in any country world over. But agriculture and manufacturing is also moving towards services. You need agri-based services, you need manufacturing-based services, and services per se is tertiary sector, which you have shown very encouraging trends over there. We wish you all the best, Renisha. Do well in life, keep rising, keep growing, keep moving up in the ladder, whatever best you can do for the humanity. And I personally feel I wish to see you, our chambers wish to see you contributing on a higher platform, higher trajectory for many more things globally for the entire universe and for the humanity. Thank you very much for joining us today, and wishing you all the best, and keep doing good job, keep doing good work with a commitment. We will have one more session in coming months with you, with ILO in India. Okay.
100%.
Thank,
Thank you so much. I've been very
thank
keen
you.
on doing that. Thank you so much for having
Yes.
me today.
Yeah. Thanks for your coming today and sharing your complete research with us. Thank you. God bless you. Stay fit, stay fine, and we wish all the best to everybody in the universe wherever you are. Let's keep doing good jobs. Get the inspiration from these young boys and girls, how extremely well they are doing, how focused